Welcome to the Global Wellness HQ family of podcasts. We are your international headquarters for resources and ideas and insight in relation to the 9 elements of holistic wellness. Join us as we interview local and international wellness experts and learn how you can implement and improve one element or dimension of wellness at a time. Our experts will share their practical tips on wellness in one of these core areas: emotional, intellectual, occupational, physical, environmental, financial, spiritual, social, or habitual. We created our family of podcasts as a resource for anyone who is looking to integrate the 9 elements of holistic wellness into their daily lives. Welcome to the show.
All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to a special series. We're talking about spirituality, and in particular, we're going to talk about being Jewish and what that means, and we're going to talk about some of the conflict that we're seeing today. I want to welcome my friend, and I'm going from memory, so please forgive me if I get your name incorrect. You can correct me. But as my memory is Neco
Yes,
Turkienicz.
very well.
Ooh,
I
that's
applaud
nice.
you. Many people don't get my name right. So yeah, thank you so much.
Slow learner, but once I hear something, I remember it. So, Neko, I want to thank you, first of all, for hanging out with me today. Let's start with a little bit about what's going on in the world and how that's impacting you personally. And then we're going to step back and talk about some of the bigger issues. And really, the heart of this episode is how do we, as a human species, how do we combat anti-Semitism? Big question for the day, but let's start with a little bit about who you are and why you think this is a conversation you and I should be having.
All right. First of all, Jeff, thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for doing this, because this is so important. It's important to talk about it and address misinformation, which is out there so strong. So about me, well, I'm a Jew. Needless to say, I am actually originally from Brazil. I was born in Brazil, born and raised in Brazil, within the Jewish community, I would say. I was also born in Porto Alegre, south of Brazil. I was raised inside the Jewish community, went to Jewish school, Jewish day school, and I was part of from a very young age, from age 7, following my siblings, I was part of a Zionist Socialist Movement, and that's one of the, if people don't know, Israel bases was built by socialist Jews, many of them that fled from Europe, and many of them that fled after the Russian Revolution, and founded. They were the ones that founded all those kibbutzim and stuff. So I was part of a movement whose ideal was to go to Israel and live in a kibbutz, which is used to be a socialist community. Today, it's a little bit different. So that's where I come from. When I was 21, I was studying journalism, but I decided to leave it. I got married early when I was 21, and my wife and I moved to Israel, where we lived for 23 years. And we, as I mentioned before, I wanted to be a kibbutznik, but I wanted to live in a kibbutz, work in the land, so I left journalism school and I went to work in the land, which is something I did for 10 years. We lived in a kibbutz in the center of Israel called Gezer, and afterwards, interestingly enough, we lived 7 years in a kibbutz that is 7 kilometers from the Gaza Strip, called Bror Chayil in the south. And luckily, it's not one of the kibbutzim that was attacked in this massacre. But we lived there, and I lived and worked with people from Gaza every day. I used to work in the orchard I was responsible for the irrigation. As you know, Israel is everything is irrigated. There's not enough rain there, not like here in America. You have plenty of rain, so you have to give water. So I was working in irrigation, and every day there were groups of Palestinians from Gaza that would come and work with us. We hired, they were picking oranges, and we had very good relationship with them back then, and it was pretty an open border. And I'm talking about the late 80s, beginning of the 90s. And I lived in Israel until 2004. I went to film school in Israel, and I started working in television in 1990 when I finished the film school in Tel Aviv University. I was very lucky that in the year that I finished, cable television just started in Israel. They needed a lot of hands, and me and all my colleagues got employment. And that's where I worked in Israeli television as a freelance director and editor until 2004, which is when I came to America, to New York, and I've been here since.
I love that. And I think you and I have had a conversation about what the food must have been like being Jewish in Brazil. You know, you've got that cultural mix. Let's talk about what's going on in your world today. And what are you experiencing you're in New York. What are you experiencing in terms of, let's talk personally, let's talk about anti-Semitism. Is it showing up in your day-to-day? What is it like to be Jewish in New York right now?
It's absolutely showing up in my day-to-day and the day-to-day of any Jew in this country, and I would say in the world. Since I said I'm Brazilian, I'm in touch with my friends, with my family in Brazil, and the way they feel. So it's a tough situation. It's a very tough situation, and we can discuss what is being done in Gaza and regarding the Israeli government and all in the conflict. But as a Jew, I can say that I never felt anti-Semitism as I am feeling right now. We were raised in a time, good times, I would say. Like my father was a Holocaust survivor. Like my father came from Poland. He fought in the Second World War in the Soviet army because they were conquered by the Soviets, the Poles. So he fought against the Nazis, and so I'm first generation in Brazil. But we all thought, I can't say that growing up in Brazil in the diaspora that I felt a lot of anti-Semitism. There was, but nothing serious. My mom, who was born, she's 94 now, may she live longer. She was born in Brazil, but she felt more anti-Semitism. But by the time of the Nazis, and there was, Brazil's government was kind of in that at that time had connections with the Nazis, wasn't good. So, and she grew up at that time, and she felt much more anti-Semitism than I did. But today it's a mix. Like is it wokeness mixed with so we, you know, the fact that you see so many people out on the streets denying Israel the right to exist, that's anti-Semitism. That there's no other word for it. So yeah, that's how I feel, and every day you see different things. You know, could be the protests out there. And as part of the Jewish community here, I've been going every Sunday to a protest that we do on Central Park every Sunday for the release of the hostages. And sometimes people will, and that's all we're doing there. we take Israeli flags and photos of the hostages, and sometimes people pass and free Palestine, free Palestine. They're not even, so it feels bad. It feels bad.
Well, for what it's worth, I am a Zionist and I'm also very pro-Jewish people. A lot of my dearest friends are Jewish, and so today we're going to try and shed just a tiny little bit of light into what's going on, because I don't think that the people over here that are saying free Palestine, it's like they read it on a social media post and they're like, oh, that's catchy. I don't believe they actually are aware, and I'm just going to throw my local university under the bus. I did a campus tour with my son, and there were a lot of sidewalk chalk saying "Free Palestine." All I could do was I accidentally spilled my water and ruined their little chalk art, but I had a conversation with the university and said, if this is what passes as education, just shut yourself down and go home, because you're clearly not teaching people. I'm naive. I believe university is teaching people how to think. It seems like they're teaching people how to parrot. So let's talk about free Palestine for a minute, and let's see where this goes. But I hear things like free Palestine, and what's the other one from
the
sea,
river to the sea.
river to the sea.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, I understand. And it may be surprising for people, but I agree with free Palestine. I want Palestinians to be free. I want the Palestinians to have a state. That's my position. It's not the position of every Jew, of course not.
yeah.
That's my position. So when you say free Palestine, if that's all people were saying, but that's not all people are saying. So when you say from the river to the sea, first of all, and that's I think was on a daily show, like you have Jonathan Kepler, that he went out to ask students, do you know which river and which sea? So many people didn't know.
Yeah.
If you don't know even this,
Yeah.
why are you shouting this?
Yeah.
But to be shouting from the river to the sea, and if you know how big Israel is, well, Israel is less than half of New Jersey state. Israel is really small. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. That means no Jews. That Palestine is the whole territory. If Palestine is the whole territory, then Israel doesn't have the right to exist. Well, that I have a problem with, a very serious problem with, and every Jew has a problem with it. We don't need to go back to the Holocaust, because so Jews were persecuted for over 2,000 years. The whole discussion of who is native to the land, it's kind of I think it's a worthless discussion. But if you are saying that the Palestinians are the natives and the Jews are the colonizers, go study a little bit and understand what you're saying. Because a colonizer like the British or the Portuguese that colonized what is today Brazil, they had a place to go back to. They came from somewhere. Jews don't have a place to go back to. That's A. But second, Jews are native to that region. The Jewish people originated there. There were a few kingdoms. If people know, there was the kingdom of Israel, and there was a kingdom of Judah, Yehuda, which is the source of the name Jews. Those were kingdoms that existed much before Christians existed, and of course Muslims. So is the Jewish people native to that land? Yes, absolutely. Now, that doesn't mean that whoever came after, which are the Palestinians, the Muslims, are not native to the land. And even more, like what you say, who was in that land before the Jewish people, who were not called Jewish people by then. Like you had the Philistines that came from apparently from Greece, so they came from somewhere else. You had the Canaanites. Now many theories today, and if you study this, like we Jews are basically Canaanites. It's the whole story about Egypt and building. Egypt dominated that area up to the middle of Israel. That was Egypt. Like people don't know that in the 10th century BC. So all the traditions have roots in facts. The Bible is not about facts. The Bible is a mythology, which you can trace. For some things you can trace facts. Many things you can't. But one thing is undeniable: the Jewish people have very strong roots in that geographical place, and there's no denying it. That means that the Jews have the right to be the sole dominant people in that region? No, absolutely not. I personally am in full favor of a Palestinian state living side by side in Israel with Israel in peace.
Yeah.
And we almost got there.
I just want to underline that because I think that is so important. Like all of the people I hear shouting "Free Palestine," they conveniently don't talk about what Israel has done and how within the state that the people who are supposedly oppressed are fighting in the IDF. They're working alongside their Jewish peers. Like it is truly, for a very volatile region, Israel is a bit of a utopia in terms of how it deals with very diverse cultural beliefs.
Yeah, I would say Israel is a miracle, the way that it evolved, and and just the sheer fact that it's there in that region, it's amazing. I heard a theory the other day, like some people will say, oh, this is the genius of the Jewish people. Maybe, I don't know. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and this person was Peter Zion, his name. He was saying that one of the reasons is that because Jews came from so many different places and they brought culture from so many different places. That's one of the things that had a strong influence in Israel being the way it is. So it could be. It could be. Now, but we have to make a serious distinction, and here we get to political opinions. So I'm not representing anyone but myself here, but I would say that are the Palestinians oppressed? I would say yes, they are, and I have been my whole life against the occupation, and on occupied territories. I'm talking about Cisjordania, which is called Yehuda v'Shomron in Hebrew today, and the Gaza Strip, and that some kind of arrangement should be done. And because I served in the IDF as a soldier, I unfortunately, and I served inside Gaza when Israel was still occupying Gaza, which is not the case since 2005. People also ignore that. But are the Palestinians oppressed? Yes, I would say. Is the system in Cisjordania is one system for Jews, another system for the Palestinians? It's a huge problem. It's a huge problem, and the situation that we got today is the result not only of the 20 last years of horrible policy by the person that is still the prime minister in Israel, incredibly, Benjamin Netanyahu, but also before the governments before that didn't solve that problem. That's what I was saying. In Yitzhak Rabin's time, we almost got there, and then one of the pivots was that Rabin was assassinated, and from there it just went down. So it's about understanding. There's no black and white here. There's a ton of shades of gray, and if you want to understand what's going on, you have to do some homework before you go out with a with a Palestinian flag, and which is, I have no problem with that, but before you go out shouting whatever you're shouting, or saying genocide, and or like Brazil's president did a few days ago, and that was horrible for me as a Brazilian Jew. Like, and he was accusing Israel of genocide, and saying that what the Israeli government, what Israel, he said, not Israeli government, or what Israel is doing is only comparable to the Holocaust, which is an absurd to say. And even more to Jews, you're saying that, and it's so easy to dispel this. Even the genocide is like the definition of genocide. You have to have intent. You have intent of killing someone because of who he is, who she is. And we've seen it. We've seen genocide examples all over human history. That and what was done in Bucha in Ukraine is genocide. They were killing Ukrainians just for being Ukrainians. It's not any, now, and if you talk about genocide, what was done in October 7 was genocide, because those terrorists were killing families, entire families, babies, and children in front of their parents in front of their children. They were inside their houses. They were sleeping. Just because they were Jews, they were killed. So this is intent. This is intent. Now you look at what, like, you can call the Israeli reaction to that horrible massacre the worst since the Holocaust, which it is. So you can call the reaction disproportionate. You can criticize what Israel is doing. Yes, you can. Although I have to point out that and I know the Israeli army, there's no such thing as an intent to kill Palestinians, civilians. But when you have a terror organization that for 16 years built an incredible, nowhere in the world this exists, an incredible subterranean city. And it's not a city, bunkers, and not for the population, just for themselves, just to be able to attack Israel. How do you destroy that? And Israel needs to destroy that. Now, how do you destroy that without killing civilians? Well, you ask them to leave, and then the international community, oh, you can't. Well, we need to destroy the terrorist infrastructure. And you have Hamas not letting people leave, which is, like, it was documented, or humanitarian aid that is coming into the Gaza Strip and being stolen by Hamas by gunpoint, and they kill people who try to go against them. So it's such a complicated situation. So it's very easy to talk, but how do you destroy a terrorist organization that is hiding under, literally using their populations as human shields? So now,
Well,
on the other hand,
for me,
yeah, sorry, yeah.
No. What is a proportionate response to raping your women, murdering your children? I mean, honestly, I feel like Israel has displayed enormous constraint given, and this is what I think I find absolutely fascinating. A lot of these people shouting, free Palestine, what they fail to realize is, what would Hamas do once Israel, if Israel were to fall and we became a world where Hamas was no longer restrained to that region? How would they treat the protesters in North America? What would they do to the young ladies and their children?
Oh,
Forget about
and talk about the LGBTQ community. Like I saw LGBTQ for Palestine shouting. Well, what can I say? They throw gay people from the rooftops, and that's not they're not a conspiracy theory. Those are facts. They are just like Al Qaeda, just like all the Islamic Jihad thing.
yeah. I
You
mean,
know,
just think about a lot of what they stand for. This I gotta call it radicals, but the reality is the complete and utter destruction of the West. So why, as a Western society, are we not saying, maybe Israel needs a hand, or maybe we should send in? I'm deeply, and this is my opinion, deeply disappointed in the UN. I think it's kind of lost its relevance.
yeah.
Um, they're busy sanctioning Israel. Why don't we have tens of thousands of blue helmets on the ground saying, okay, everybody take a breath, let's stop this fight? But I'm just disappointed that the West is completely oblivious to what these extremists want to do. And don't get me started on the LGBT community. Um, when they're shouting free Palestine, they really should know what that means. If Palestine is truly free, Hamas comes over to North America, guess what that means for you as a culture, as part of the LGBT community? It sickens me.
And yeah, and if you let Hamas continue to rule, now, if you Jeff, you take a step back and you say, okay, let's look at at the historic perspective. Yeah, and then I'll go back to my in uh, in my opinion, Israeli government, the present Israeli government is a horrible government. We have fascists in the government there, like Ben Gvir and Itamar Ben Gvir and Smotrich and others, that all they want to do is inflame the situation. That they're suggesting that Israel limits the amount of people that can come to Mount Scopus, not to Mount Scopus, to the old city, the Al-Aqsa mosque during Ramadan. That's a horrible idea. That's an absurd idea. And if you want to inflame the Muslim world, that's what you do. Now, you don't want to do that. Having said that, Bibi Netanyahu, present prime minister, he was against peace always, and he still is, and he's done horrible things in terms of like horrible decisions. He helped Hamas establish themselves because he wanted to weaken the Palestinian Authority, and he succeeded in this. But what Hamas did with tons of money that came through Qatar, with like suitcases of money, sanctioned by and permitted by Netanyahu. Well, they didn't invest. They could have turned the Gaza Strip to kind of a Singapore. Tom Friedman wrote a beautiful thing about this. But no, what did they do? They built an incredible, like enormous terror city, subterranean city. That's what they did with all this money. And the Israeli government, Mr. Netanyahu, they knew a lot about this, and but they thought that Hamas could be controlled. Well, you forget that the PLO, which was Arafat's, which has a lot of problems. They are corrupt. But they signed an agreement. They changed their principles to recognize Israel's right to exist. Hamas never did that. On the contrary, they are bound to, when they say what they want a free Palestine, they want to kill or expel all the Jews from there. And they say that, like, we have to listen to what those guys say and understand that they are serious, and not think, nah, they don't mean it. No, they do mean it. And if you let them rule, the Palestinian people and Palestinian land, and if you don't give the Palestinians a horizon to if there's no horizon, if I have nothing to lose, yeah, and I may strap bombs to myself and go explode a bus and kill a lot of Jews. So that's the flip side, and I'm looking at it, but nothing justifies what people ignorant, I would say, people are saying on the streets today, or when I see students, American students, like ripping the posters with faces of children that have been abducted by those terrorists. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Like you are, you want to defend the Palestinian right to have a state and be free, please.
Yeah.
But you saying what they did is right? Like do they have the right to abduct people and kill and torture, and which they are doing? Many of those abductees that are still there, many of them are dead. So and some were probably killed by Israeli bombardments, yes, because they are being used as shields.
It's really hard to avoid hitting a human being when they're strapped in front of a tank. If you're taking out tanks, you're going to hit the human, right?
Yeah, or if you want to hit those tunnels that are sometimes 20-30 meters underneath the ground, how do you do that without? And they are built under hospitals. They are built under schools.
Yeah.
They are built under UNRWA offices. How do you? It's so complicated. How do you deal with that? And you have an organization that will not let the people flee, even when Israel. And don't know if people know, until the war, Israel had the Israeli army had a procedure that was called knock on the ceiling. They would send a notice, a very noticeable notice to the inhabitants of a building where they knew terrorists were hiding, telling them leave, and that you should leave because we're gonna bomb. Like, who does that?
I read that and I was like, wow. And I just want to underline Israeli Defense Force. It's not attacking. Now, I could talk to you about this, and I think this is an important subject. For all the wonderful Gentiles out there who want to support the Jewish people, they want to support you. What would you say to them, the ones who care deeply? They just, and I'll be honest, I was there too. I reached out to a bunch of Jewish friends and said, look, I care deeply. I just don't know how to help. What can I do?
Well, first of all, talk about it. Like talk with people that when you see people talk about genocide and talk about the Israel as colonizers, like say something. If you can, and if like, say something and ask people, why are you saying that? Like, do you know what's going on there? So that's one thing that people can do, like go out and go out and protest against those people. But educating people is important. And you can support by you have there are different and we can put links, but there are different organizations mainly with the families of the hostages that they need help, because they are organizing all the time, and they are dealing with a bad Israeli government also, which is another story. A lot of protests in Israel. People don't know about it, but the people are out on the streets protesting against the government. So those people need help, and there are different ways to help them. But I would just say go out and speak about it. Like, don't be quiet, because when you're quiet about something, like you're letting it happen. You know, being quiet about something not just is just helping the other side.
I think it was Edmund Burke who said all it takes for evil to win is for good men to do nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
To me, that's
Absolutely.
not acceptable. So now I want to be mindful of your time, but Neco, is there anything you'd like to say as a parting thought? Because I really want to appreciate and thank you for sharing your story with me, because I think this is, one human to one human, the more we connect with each other, the less room there is for hatred. So
Yeah. And again, thank you for the opportunity to speak, and thank you for being so mindful of the situation and helping. So thank you for that. I would say for everybody out there, first of all, be informed. And there's what I see out there, it could be just ignorance, could be just anti-Semitism, or a mix of the two. When people go out and start boycotting establishments and anywhere in Brazil, here in the U.S., in Canada, that support Israel, or there are just Jewish establishments that, like, they have the temerity of putting an Israeli flag. When you're supporting Israel, you're not supporting the Israeli government. I'm not supporting the Israeli government, but I'm supporting the people of Israel, and I'm supporting the right of Israel to exist. When you call Israel is the Israel's colonizers, and you talk about those kibbutzim along the Gaza Strip, where I live too, and you call them settlements, that's so absurd. Like, if you call the settlements in Cisjordania settlements, that's another different ball game. Still, no one is justified to kill those people that are there. I'm against them being there, those Jews, but that doesn't give anyone the right to kill them. But just talking about every single city in Israel, or like, is Tel Aviv a settlement? So that's what I would say. Go out and learn before you say things, and if you are in the position to help people learn and stop saying nonsense, please do that.
I love it. Well, I want to thank you on behalf of my listeners and just for my heart. Thank you for hanging out with me and helping me shine a little bit of light on this. So thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to our show. We hope that you enjoyed this episode, and we invite you to either click the link below or scan the QR code to register and listen to other episodes of our podcast. Or if you think your business or you would be a great guest to be on our show, we're always looking for experts in one of the 9 elements of holistic wellness. We'd love to have you. You can either click the link below or you can scan the QR code and complete our speaker intake form. Thank you, and to your wellness.